Hello again to another episode of Real Ranks. This time talking about the movies of April. Basically I'm just gonna talk about the movies that I watched this month and rank them in this little rank list. Let's just start. The first movie I watched was Priscilla by Sofia Coppola. Obviously came out last year, but I only finally got to watch it this year, and I think Katie Spaney and Jacob Elordi are both really good in it. I love how the movie looks, and I think this movie is a really great depiction of loneliness more than anything. I think the way this movie isolates Priscilla Presley from her surroundings and very frequently kind of contrasts that with like what the average experience of someone her age would be, and then also like contrasting it with the whole sort of fairy tale romance, and like the candy colored cinematography. I think it's like a really really good movie. I haven't seen Elvis yet, but honestly I don't think I'm gonna like that one nearly as much as I enjoyed this one. But I know I'd have to see it at some point as well. Then I watched The Omen by Richard Donner. This one, I also really enjoyed. I have to be honest, I didn't think it was particularly scary, really at all. But it was like a really effective sort of mystery thriller for me, with of course these like supernatural horror elements. Some really beautiful like gothic imagery, especially during the end. There's this graveyard sequence for people who've seen it, which looks really stunning. It's just like a really good sort of like 70s like horror thriller from Hollywood. And I only really watched it because the first Omen was releasing, and I was really excited for that. Probably my favorite trailer of the year so far. Not that it really matters, but so I watched it next, directed by Akasha Stevenson, and that one unfortunately I thought it was fine. I just had really high hopes for it. And I think it definitely doesn't live up to The Omen. Which, people were really kind of hyping it up, talking about that it's just like a really great legacy prequel and stuff. And again, the trailer was amazing. And I do think, to be fair, this movie has really great moments. And I do think both the main actress, Nell Tager-Free, as well as the director, Akasha Stevenson, show a lot of potential here. This is for both of them sort of some of their first big work. The actress was on some TV shows before, but she's by no means like an established actor, I would say. And for the director, this is the debut. And there are really strong moments for both of them, where you can see how they might be able to do some really great stuff in the future. But unfortunately, I think the movie's just kind of fine. I think it, especially towards the end, it just starts to crumble a bit. Feels like to me maybe this movie would have been better if it wasn't a prequel to an established movie, because I do think towards the end you can feel it kind of straining itself a bit to get to the ending it needs to go to fit with the movie it's a prequel of. But I will say I'm really kind of looking forward to whatever the director does next. Hopefully something original, because I think like she clearly has an interesting voice in horror. Also like really beautiful shot at the film. And then I watched Monkey Man by Dev Patel, which I mean, just like a fantastic action movie, really. You know, Dev Patel is an amazing actor. He's one of those people in Hollywood who I think most people know, but he doesn't get to shine as much as he should, I think. And this is kind of, you know, himself giving himself the star vehicle he deserves, and he's really good in it, both as an actor and as a director. I think you can tell a bit that it is a directorial debut and a first screenplay from him, because I do think at times it does fall into some, you know, first filmmaking traps. It's a bit like it's a little inconsistent. There's just some sort of rough mistakes that where it's just lacking a little bit of polish, I think. But again, I think if he like continues to get to do this stuff, he could make some really great stuff. And Monkey Man is already an amazing action film. Or I guess even more so like a really great revenge thriller than an action film. Then I watched Parasite the Grey by Yong Song-ho. I mean, I only really... So I haven't seen the anime or read the manga, Parasite. I know of it. I do want to watch it at some point. I just haven't yet, for some reason. But then when the Netflix show came out, I wanted to watch it. It's basically like a spin-off of like what happens at the same time, but in Korea instead of Japan. And you know, it's from the director of Train to Busan, and I wanted to watch it. It's sci-fi body horror. It's my thing. Again, I need to watch the anime. I think this show was like kind of disappointing, sadly. It like starts out fine, but it doesn't really go anywhere interesting. Like it doesn't really do anything interesting with the concept. The effects are nice, I guess. The acting is like a little overacted at times, especially like there's this female like chief of the special unit who's hunting after the parasite, and she's really kind of overacting. And yeah, I mean, again, it starts out fine with the setup, but then towards the end, you know, like people are being really stupid, and there's always this thing of course, people are allowed to be stupid. It's like human nature, but it does get kind of ridiculous at parts where things are clearly just happening because they have to happen for the story, not because they're like reasonable to happen. And it just I don't know. I mean, I assume there will be a second season. I don't think I'll watch it because nothing that really grabbed me all that much, except that I now want to watch the anime even more to see what I assume will be the good version of the story. Next up, I watched La Chimera by Alice Rowacha. I probably butchered that name, but I believe that's sort of how you pronounce it. This is amazing. I mean, this is like this really, really light, magic realism. Like almost could be like a comfort movie, I would say. Just in how like sensitive it is. It's basically about this guy who comes out of prison. He's this archaeologist, and he hangs out with his friends of like grave robbers, robbing graves. They're all poor, and that's basically how they sort of make a bit of money at least. But he only really does it because his like girlfriend died, and he wants to find the gates to the underworld, basically, to see her again. And again, it's this really beautiful, like, magic realist fable about life and death and like grief, about the ghost of the past, about, I mean, capitalism. Honestly, I think it's always a bit of a cliche to say a movie is about capitalism, but this one definitely is interested in that. And it's a movie where you kind of just have to sit there and let it wash over you, I think. And then by the end, like, it's one of those where the final frames of it, the final shots, they really get you. And then everything makes perfect sense, you know? And also just, I mean, I haven't seen any of her other movies. I really want to watch them, especially now. But amazing directorial choices that stand out, but in a good way. Yeah, this was also Josh O'Connor, you know, with Challengers. People have seen Challengers and they liked him. They should watch La Chimera, definitely. If it's still showing, hopefully. I assume it's not by now, but you know, find a way. Next up, I watched the Netflix Ripley show, which is obviously an adaptation of The Talented Mr. Ripley from Steven Zalian, who's like, I mean, I wasn't familiar with his directorial work, but he's super famous as a screenwriter. He's been like nominated for Oscars multiple times, and it just kind of looked interesting. I haven't seen the other Talented Mr. Ripley adaptations or read the book, so this was my first experience with the story, and the show's amazing. Like, this show is, I would say, the best thing I watched this month. Yeah, I mean, just first of all, the digital black and white cinematography is absolutely stunning. Like, every single frame of the show looks insanely beautiful. And the way this show really kind of takes its time, and how much it's willing to sort of dive into the psychology of Ripley himself, it's just really fascinating. It's also like the tonal shifts of it are so perfect, where it's very serious and almost borders on, like, I would honestly say it borders on horror at times, on psychological horror. But then it's also so funny and just thrilling. It's honestly, I think, close to like a perfect Netflix show, at least some of the best Netflix like TV I've seen in a while. Yeah, I don't know, I might rewatch, or I might watch some of the other adaptations of the book to see how they compare. But yeah, at least this one kind of made me fall in love with this story. Then I finally watched All Quiet on the Western Front. This movie obviously was really big at the Oscars, and people were not happy with it. At least a lot of people I knew, and I didn't really understand why, because I hadn't seen it. I was just kind of happy that, you know, a German movie got some Oscars. Having now seen it, it's just kind of fine. I get why people didn't really want it to win. I do think technically it's kind of a massive achievement. It looks stunning, it sounds great. It's so big. Just like the scale of it feels so big. Which is the problem. I think there's really no like intimate character work, or at least like it tries to, but it's so emotionally empty. There's nothing going on. You don't care about anything that's happening, which for this kind of like the horrors of war kind of movie is a massive issue. And yeah, like it looks nice, but and it has moments as well, but it's way too long. You don't really care, and you're just kind of waiting for it to be over, honestly. Yeah. Then I mean Civil War, by Alex Garland. This is a movie, obviously. A lot of discourse online about it. People have said their stuff about it being good, about it being bad. The messaging of it, I loved it, honestly. I just think I'm a big Alex Garland fan. Clearly not everybody is, but I definitely am. I think this movie is so... It's kind of the opposite of All Quiet on the Western Front. I mean, Civil War also looks absolutely stunning, and the sound is like second to none. This is the kind of movie that I think you need to see in the cinema. Otherwise, I'm not sure you're quite gonna get the same experience. But I think this one's really emotionally impactful. I think the characters are probably sort of the weak point of it, in that they're not like super, like, the characters aren't like the deepest characters ever, but I do think they have enough to work for the movie, and I think you really get to like them again enough to do what the movie wants to do. But I think more than anything, this is just like a spectacle, and I understand that people wanted more of that, and I do think it has more to say about violence, and especially like violence in images, and like storytelling and how violence relates to that, but not in the way that people wanted to, and that's fine. But for me, this was kind of the big, like, I just had an amazing time watching this, honestly. Obviously very like visceral, sort of quote unquote bad experience, but in a way that is really kind of impactful and amazing, I think. And obviously this might be Alex Garland's last directorial work. I think that's really sad, because obviously he's successful as a writer and he will continue to write, but I do think he's a much better director than he's a writer, honestly. And I would love to see him continue to direct, but yeah, I hope he gets back to it at some point. Then I watched Abigail. This one I was really sad about, because I was really excited for this. I thought it looked super fun. I haven't seen the most recent Scream movies, but I had seen Ready or Not, which again was very fun. And so I kind of just wanted more of that, and I watched it, and I was really, really disappointed by it. I don't think this movie is fun at all until like the last like 20 minutes maybe, where it gets fun. Before that, it's, I think, super boring. It wastes so much time before actually like establishing the concept that everybody knows is the movie, and all of the stuff before that feels like completely wasted time. It has really silly exposition dumps. I think most of the actors, like, there are great actors in here. I think most of them are kind of wasted. Like, you have Dan Stevens, and he only really gets to shine for like 10-15 minutes, I think. Before that, he's kind of wasted. I kind of just wanted it to be a lot sillier, I think. Like, I don't know. No other people liked it, and I'm happy for them. And I wanted to like it, but it was really, disappointed by this one, unfortunately. Then I watched Live It. So Live It is this French horror movie by the directors of Inside. So the reason I watched this is because Abigail, obviously a movie about a little girl, like vampire ballerina. Live It, a movie that came out a couple years ago about little girl ballerina vampires and about people who break in somewhere and are then trapped with these ballerina vampires in a house. It's like the Abigail setup, almost one to one, exactly. So I wanted to watch it, and I do think this movie is much better. So this movie is the opposite of Abigail, where Abigail is obviously this horror comedy that I felt didn't entirely work as either horror or comedy. Live It really kind of commits to being a horror movie, strips back the comedy, takes itself way more seriously, is more interested in like this concept of like why they're ballerina vampires, which is obviously a ridiculous concept, but I do think it kind of Live It kind of makes it work with some interesting backstory. And not like the most amazing movie, but this one was kind of fun. And yeah, yeah. Then I rewatched The Hateful Eight. So I hadn't seen this. I watched this when it originally came out in the theater, and then I hadn't seen it since. And I was really curious to check it out because honestly, I like barely remembered anything about it. And this movie is really good. It's not as like stylish or over the like. It's not as flashy as other Tarantino movies, but it's just like really solid screenplay. Really lets the actors shine. Like every actor that's in it, which are all incredible actors, they all get really great stuff to do. And it's just, you take a bunch of people, you put them in like a house during a snowstorm, and none of them can escape. It always just kind of works. It's like a thriller, and the same is true here. It's just like this great like what's the word? I think there's a word for it. I can't think right now. But just like people trapped together, dying off one by one. It's that movie. It's a really good version of that movie. And yeah, I mean it's super long, but it's a really good time. Then I watched Stoker by Park Chan-wook. Now, Park Chan-wook is one of, I would say, the greatest living directors, honestly. I'm sort of watching his movies right now, completing his filmography before his new show comes out, or before all of the episodes of his new show come out, because I want to binge them. And Stoker's one I hadn't seen yet. It's, I think, I want to say the only English language film he made, and it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Like it has like a few good moments. There's like this moment on the playground. There's the piano moment again for people who've seen it. But most of the movie is honestly super uninteresting. It's, I believe, one of the few movies he hasn't written, and I think you can tell. It has the stylistic flourishes of his directorial style, which are incredible, always. But it's such an uninteresting movie. Like, it wants to be this kind of like gothic like love story, like really twisted love story, I don't really think it works. And like Park Chan-wook kind of saves it, but I think this is just like a really weak screenplay, and the movie doesn't really work entirely. But I've seen it, you know. Mm. And the last movie I watched this month was Love Lies Bleeding by Rose Glass. This is a movie that I didn't like as much as I wanted to, but I did like it. It also is a kind of movie that I think if I see it again, I probably am gonna like it more. I think I just went in with maybe the wrong expectations. It's really a pretty straightforward, like, crime noir thriller or neo noir thriller. And based on Rose Glass's previous work and also what kind of people were saying about it, I was expecting it to be weirder, to be a little more horror infused. And it has those fantastical elements. And I just kind of wanted more of them. I do think those moments are where the movie is at its best. I think especially there's sort of this like drug fueled moment, which is like I think easily the high point of the movie. And yeah, there is, especially towards the latter half and the end of the movie, there are these really like weird moments, and I feel like the movie needed more of those, or that's what I wanted. Again, I don't know. Maybe if I watch it again now, knowing what it is, I might like it more. And again, I don't want to talk too negatively about it. I did enjoy it. But I think it's just a classic sort of case of an overhyped movie. And I don't know, I'll rewatch it when we get to home release probably, and then I'll see how I feel about it. And yeah, that's it for this month. I watch primarily new stuff and like new releases. And yeah, let me know if you've seen any of these movies, what you thought about them, and then I'll see you again next month.